Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. So I have been led to make a video where you can do an individual sitting and get assisted by the video, which I'll explain here in a moment, and also a group meditation or your individual morning meditation, which I'll again explain here in a moment. So this is an introductory video, which I'll explain what happens in the sitting. I'll talk about the prayer, the mission prayer, and I'll talk about what you do in the meditation, and I'll explain the video and the sittings that you'll receive. So this will be a 3-video playlist, at least 3. This is the first video, the introduction to the individual and group sittings, and and then there'll be a video with an individual sitting, and a video for a group meditation. And so I haven't created the playlist yet, but it'll be in the top of all the description box to this channel, to the Gratefullness meditation channel, Apocalaughs, POTF. And also I'll place it here below this Gratefulness Sunday meditation playlist. And so it will be in both, in all 3 of my channels, it'll be below here, or the other 2 channels will be below here, and on this channel it will be up here at the top. And so when I create that playlist, you'll be able to access this video and the 2 videos where you'll get these sittings. Then there's also this one, Gratefulness Sunday meditation playlist. And if you look at the playlist, the second video here that's 53 minutes long has a variety of links in the Sajmark system that explains all the practices. And so you can also read all of that. It explains where you can find the online literature, the online ebooks and things, where you can find those, and the key books that will help you and assist you in your practice. And so those are also essentials these are all Sahaj Marg, because what we're doing here is Sahaj Marg. I'm just calling it gratefulness for our little group here as a way to, for people to understand it, and user-friendly name. And so I'll switch over to my voiceover and I'll explain everything else here. So I want to keep the individual sitting video and the group meditation and individual personal meditation that you do in the morning video, which is one video that's 1 hour long video. In terms of the meditation, I want to keep those simple and without explanation. And so I will say in these videos that I will refer to this video if you're not sure what's going on. And you can watch this video for explanation, but those videos will just be an individual sitting and these 2 other sittings. One will be what you would do for a group meditation, but also what you would do if you were just meditating in the morning. And those will be 1 hour long, and the other individual sitting will be a half hour long. And so the reason that I am doing this is because I had something that you guys don't, which is some of you guys had preceptors, so that, for those of you who practice Saj Marg or Heartfulness with a preceptor, and then you experience the transmission for a while, then it sort of dissipate, and you were wondering, and then you started to learn, through my channel what was going on with Daji, and you lost sort of faith in him and the system, and the apps weren't working and things. You had at least an experience of interacting with people in the organization. Even though it was collapsing at the time, it still functioned to some extent. And me and people like my brother, who started in 1993, we got preceptors that were good preceptors. I had a really good preceptor who made it easier to learn and meditate and do all these things and integrate oneself into the system, into the Sajmark system, because it's kind of weird. It's a weird thing. You're, meditating across people, and you're believing that this energy is being exchanged, and, you can't see it. And when you first come into it, it's kind of a strange thing. And, you're going to have doubts. Naturally, you should have doubts. You should have suspicions. And I mean, just because of all the scammers and all the stuff that's out there. And so this is, going to help people, instead of having just to meditate by yourself at home and try to figure things out. I'm going to, in these videos, I'm going to read the prayer, and you can read the prayer along with me. That's how you throw the switch on. I'm going to tell you what you do before you meditate, right? And then, what's going on with the meditation, what's happening. I'm going to explain the prayer to you in this video and just give you the basic information. And if you stop practicing for a while, or you're doing it and you need a little bit of, you don't remember everything, then I'll give you something to fall back on. So this is going to be the explanation aspect of it. And then there'll be the 2 videos where you can meditate, not along with me. But again, I'm not a preceptor. I'm not giving you a sitting. I'm not transmitting to you, which I'll say in both of the sessions, but just giving you a time frame. And what I'm going to do is I'll read the prayer with you, and then I'll say, please begin. And then for the individual sitting, after a half hour, I'll say, that's all. And then I'll talk about, if you want to write in your diary, whatever, what you can do or whatever, leave a comment or whatever it might be, if you want to leave feedback and so forth. And so for the individual sitting, there's something else I want to add here. When I was introduced to this system in August 3rd was my first sitting, Tuesday, August 3rd. And Thursday, August 5th was my final of 3 days, the 3 introductory sittings. And so what that is you would go to a preceptor. Some cases you'd start with the master of the system. Later on, Daji had these videos that worked on YouTube that have now been sort of lost and forgotten about. And probably for good reason. But back, when I started, you went to a preceptor's house and you got 3 individual sittings in 3 successive days, and enough grossness, enough spiritual, whatever, blockages were cleaned out, and your first transmission was received, where you felt this transmission being put into your heart. I was on the other end giving individual sittings, these introductory sittings to people as well. And the 3rd sitting was special. When I was a preceptor, I realized how special it was, because you got, this divine light. It was like a light was lit in your heart, right? This energy, this transmission was given. And so that doesn't exist for most of you guys. And since there isn't preceptors in the Gratefullness meditation, we're meditating, connecting directly to God, to the source of this energy. You can do the individual sitting 3 days in a row, more if you need to, just so that you can get introduced to the system. And you should do it until you feel like something has happened, right? That you do these individual sittings for, 3 or 4 days in a row, whatever it is, 5 days. Babaji once gave someone 24 introductory sittings before giving them the first transmission because of the grossness that they have. And so that's something you can do now with these videos. Again, you're not receiving the energy from the video. You're not receiving it from me. You're connecting directly through the source. The idea should be, you should set an intention ahead of time, because, people have resistance to God. They have a resistance to the goodness inside of them. Your ego is resisting your soul, which is the true life, right? Your true purpose here. And so, set an intention ahead of the sitting and say, I'm opening myself up and wanting, whatever needs to happen so that I can connect to God, whatever changes I have to make, things like this, right? Put it in your own words, some sort of intention, word it in a positive way, what you want to have happen, what you want to do, and open yourself up to it. And then you're going to have the thought that you're meditating and this transmission's coming from the source, through the divine master, God. And I'll say the prayer, then you do the meditation. And so that's the case for both the individual sitting video and then also the group meditation video. So if you're meditating on Sunday and you want to have like something there to guide you, then you can turn on this video and I'll say the prayer. We say the prayer together. You can read the prayer. You can pause the video and read the prayer until you memorize it. And then I'll say, please begin meditation. And the video will run for a half hour, like I said, in the individual sitting. But in this case, on Sunday morning, it'll run for an hour. If you can't meditate for a full hour, if you're having trouble with restlessness, whatever it is, you need to build up to it for, after some period of time. The goal is to meditate for an hour. Sometimes these group meditations are like 40 minutes. They're often not a full hour. And so I'm going to say that's all after an hour. But if you feel the transmission, you're 40 minutes in, you feel like the sitting's over, then you can stop the sitting on your own, right? And so, it's not going to be an hour every time. It's just up to you. But even if you meditate the full hour, the extra 20 minutes will help you digest. If it's a 40-minute group meditation, the 20 minutes will help you digest the energy. It's not, harmful in any ways. You don't really want to meditate over an hour, and most people won't do that anyway. And so also, if you are meditating in the morning, you can play either one of these videos. The hour long would be better, but either one. And you can say the prayer with me, and I'll say, please begin. And then you can either set a timer on your own or use the video. If the video is a half hour, you want to meditate for a half hour, or the hour long one, or you can set a timer on your own. It just gives you something to connect with, right? You're not connecting through the video. God isn't coming through the video, but it's, it's just there as a little sort of template for you to help you guide you through the meditation. And so when you begin meditating, you're meditating on the supposition of divine light in your heart. You're not looking for light. I've never seen light. You're feeling light, but it's more that you're feeling God's love, because the transmission's God's love. You're meditating on your heart, like, where your heart is, but on an etheric level. And so your attention's there. You're not concentrating. You just want to relax into it. You're going to have thoughts, because that happens. And if you have thoughts, you just treat them as like barking dogs or uninvited guests. That's Babaji's, what he would say. And you just let them, flow through you. You don't fight them. You don't want to get into a struggle with your thoughts, and you don't want to attend to them and, start thinking, start dwelling on the thoughts and giving them more energy. You just sort of, you have a few thoughts, and then you go, all right, go back to this idea of divine light in your heart and, feeling this God's love in your heart. Ultimately it's a feeling. You're doing it in terms of feeling more than thinking, right? You're becoming instead of concentrating or, focusing. It's more relaxing into it. Also, you can use the individual meditation video for your nighttime cleaning after you've done your day's work. That's supposed to be a half hour long. And so it starts the same way. You say the prayer, but instead of meditating, you have the idea that all the day's impressions are going off your back in the form of smoke and vapors. So you're sitting, and everything that's, you've accumulated during the day is going off your back in the smoke and vapors. And this divine energy is filling the empty space that's created by the cleaning. So there's this transmission coming into your, into your, the front of your chest, and all the, grossness is going off your back in the form of smoke and vapors. And it'll, work the same way. You're just doing something differently. I'll say, please begin meditation, but instead of the meditation, it'll be the cleaning, and then you'll start doing the cleaning. Again, you're using your will. It's different than the meditation where you're relaxing into it, where you're, sort of letting yourself fall into a state of meditation. It's like you're looking out the window of a car, and, you just time drifts. You're riding on a train or airplane or something. You're looking at the clouds, and after a while, you sort of go into a dreamlike state, and time just disappears, and you're lost in your thoughts or whatever it is. That's a meditative state. So that happens in the meditation. The cleaning, you're using your will force and your concentration. You're not using, you're relaxing also, but you're using your will to, imagine that all these impressions are going off of your back in the form of smoke and vapors. And so, like I said, with the group meditation, like say Sunday morning, you want to play the group meditation video. It'll be the third video in this series, in this playlist. And you'll just, say the meditation, say the prayer, and do the meditation. In both the individual sitting and the group meditation, the preceptor or the master of the system transmits to the group or the individual, reads the individual or the group, and reads their spiritual condition, sees what needs to be cleaned, activates the cleaning process, and then after, some period of time, 20 minutes in the individual sitting, 30 minutes in the group meditation, transmission is given. I mean, it varies. It's when, the work is done. And then the transmission flows from the heart of the preceptor or master of the system acts as a conduit for this divine energy, and it flows into the participants, the meditator's heart, right? So there's that, right? And, it's something where you just learn to do it, and you learn to focus on your, the meditative side. You have the ability, everyone meditates. It's a state of mind, it's a state of heart, it's a spiritual condition. And in this case, you're focusing on God in your meditation. You can meditate on any number of things. You can daydream about you can meditate on your vacation or your wife or your husband or, any number of things, right? Meditating is, where you have an object of meditation. In this case, your object is God's light, God's love in your heart. And that's the important part of this, the Sajmark system, that you're meditating on God's love, and eventually you receive God's love. Whatever you meditate on, you receive. It's like it creates it, you're manifesting it, you're bringing it to you in a very light and, not forceful way. You're not, forcing it, you're allowing your mind to rest on it. And then there's a very powerful connection because of the, fluidity and the subtlety of this process. So that brings us to the mission prayer. So in the other playlist is a link to this page here. As long as it exists, hopefully Dodgy doesn't take it down. But, we'll have, I have copies of all this, screenshots and things. And so this is called the prayer and meditation, but it's an explanation of the prayer. And I'm going to explain it my own way as well here. And so the prayer is, O Master, thou art the real goal of human life. We are yet but slaves of wishes, putting bar to our advancement. Thou art the only God in power to bring us up to that stage. Now, normally, most people will have a problem with, we are yet but slaves of wishes, putting bar to our advancement. But for most of you truthers, that isn't a problem. Your problem is going to be, O Master, thou art the real goal of human life. And thinking that you're saying the master of the Sajmark system is the real goal of human life, and coming in as a new person, you really can't say that, because as far as you know, he's a scammer. And, for us, there's no master, right? Because Dodgy isn't a master, and, the organization has collapsed, the Heartfulness organization. But to understand what this line means, O Master, thou art the real goal of human life, in the Sajmark teaching, you have a master within you. And unlike, any other organization, it's to help you become that. Where instead of worshiping some spiritual deity, some spiritual person, it's help you to reach the level that they've reached. The three masters of the Sajmark system, right? And so you're saying that my soul, the actualization of my soul, the actualization of my spiritual self, to become the version of me, of myself, of my soul, that God wants me to become. The ultimate version, the ultimate expression of the divinity within you. And that's a master. So, for me, I believe that. And you can, not believe it and still say it. Just this prayer flips a switch. And it begins the meditation. And so, O Master, thou art the real goal of human life. We are yet but slaves of wishes, putting bar to our advancement. I think most of you can believe in that our own wishes, our desires, our egotistical traits, our egoism is blocking us from being the best version of ourselves. So that's, that speaks for itself. Thou art the only God in power to bring us up to that stage. And so this refers to, somebody asked Babaji about this, and they said, why do you say, "Oh Master," and why are there the last lines? And Babaji said, well, the difference between a spiritual master and God is God can't create another God. God can't create himself another version of God, because there can only be one. There can only be one God, and God is manifested all throughout the universe. There can't be two. God can't create another God like himself. There can only be, higher developed beings that have reached their full potential. But God doesn't have any individuality. There's no I in God. God doesn't have any ego or selfish thoughts. And so in terms of the best version you can be, is your individual personality, your sovereign spirit that's part of the divine system, and yet you have your individual essence. And so that's the spiritual master. And a spiritual master can help someone else rise up to that level. And so, thou art the only God empowered to bring us up to that stage, is that, through the help of this system and the transmission of this process, you can rise up to that level. Otherwise, it's very difficult to rise up to that level. It takes millions of years. So that's what these 3 lines mean. But in terms of the meditation, it's like switching. It's a flipping on a switch, and it opens you up to the transmission. And so I will say this prayer in the beginning of these 2, the meditations, and then that'll be that, right? Then you can start meditating and have the idea of God's love in your heart, divine light in your heart, or you can do the cleaning process, and those are the 2, like I've explained earlier in this video. So again, that there's a link to the Gratefullness meditation playlist, and the second video in that playlist has all of these things on it, right? These links to the Sajmark system. And the first 5 videos explain the system and what you're doing, so there's more information out there. This is just a brief explanation of what you're doing in these 2 sittings. And so that's it for this video, and in the playlist there'll be the individual sitting video and the group meditation video as well. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely pouring from the Apocalaughs and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.